Closed captioning is brought to you by IT&E Life in Motion. KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson Navigation, serving Guam and Micronesia for 20 years. Cars Plus, Dodge Challenger, the undisputed champion. IP&E, fueling excellence. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. Pacific Solar and King's Restaurant, located in Tamuning and Dededo. Always open, always local.
A public hearing with no public input. More on the superintendent saga coming up next.
Plus, Ken Quintanilla has the latest on the controversial Pago Bay lawsuit.
And we'll also bring you more on the protests and lawsuits involving Guam's Catholic Church. Top of the day to everyone watching us here at home over KUAM TV8 or YouTube, and now to our viewers able to watch KUAM and all of our NBC programming live in Saipan and Tinian. I'm Jason Salas.
And I'm Isa Baza. So glad you could join us for Primetime.
Well, Isa, it has never been done before, but next week a public hearing will be held to discuss the firing of the superintendent of education. And while the procedures for the hearing remain up in the air, what is clear is that public participation will not be allowed.
While the public is invited, they will not be able to make comments or participate in the public hearing to discuss the firing of Superintendent John Fernandez.
A public hearing is in his contract that he has agreed, and the public hearing is for him to publicly answer to the views of particulars.
The hearing will be held during a special board meeting on November 21st, and Board Chair Luz Nicholas clarified that public participation is never allowed at special board meetings.
If we allow public participation because there's somebody else's agenda, that would not be the right course of action. Now, if we're going to allow public participation at all of the special board meeting, then there needs to be consistency. But we cannot just pick and choose when we want to have that.
Both the confidential bill of particulars and investigation report will also be made public during the hearing, and a hearing officer will be appointed. However, the rest of the procedures for the hearing have yet to be determined.
We are waiting for Mr. Gumatauto to provide us that information. Once he provides us that information, definitely all of the board members will be given the same information that we received.
Several board members, including Peter Alexisada, Maria Gutierrez, and Lou Benaventi, have criticized the timing of the hearing and raised concerns that there has been a lack of transparency. In a letter to St. Nicholas this morning, Gutierrez listed 7 issues, ranging from her concerns over the termination process to what she feels is the exclusion of certain members on key decisions. She said, quote, "It is very obvious we have clearly split as a board in terms of our opinions on how to proceed with this termination process. 4 members appear to be strongly in favor of termination and with the actions of GEB legal counsel to date. 3 members appear to be strongly opposed. I believe a second vote is going to be necessary to effectuate a termination with the current split," end quote. However, St. Nicholas said it's unclear whether a second vote will be required.
That would be part of the procedures that Mr. Gumatauto would have to include.
In a letter to the board earlier this month, Fernandez's attorney, David Lujan, chided the board for what he claims was the illegal termination of his client's contract. He said he has reached out to attorney Gary Gumatauto to meet to discuss and determine the procedure for his client's right to a fair and public hearing. He called the actions of the board, quote, "nothing short of a shameless power grab," end quote. KUAM reached out to attorney Gumatauto for comment, but he has yet to respond as of news time. The governor's office is concerned about the announcement that the public hearing for John Fernandez will not include public participation, saying in a release that it has been fending off concerns from residents complaining that they're being deprived of their voices. The release states that not only does the lack of public participation cast darkness on the process, it smothers the voices of those people who vote education board members into their seats. Governor Calvo said, quote, an issue that impacts the lives and education of tens of thousands of children and their families should be discussed openly and with transparency, end quote. He asked the board chair and vice chair to consider moving the public hearing to a time and location more convenient to the people of Guam. Less than 20 minutes after Guam Education Board member Maria Gutierrez wrote a letter to Chairwoman Luz Nicholas, raising concerns about the process of terminating Superintendent John Fernandez, including concerns regarding the actions of the board legal counsel Gary Gumatautau. Gumatautau filed an official discrimination complaint against her. In his complaint, Gumatautau alleges Gutierrez publicly mocked his disability, namely blindness. He said this alleged mockery violates Title VII, Title IX, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Gutierrez called the complaint unfounded and said she feels it is retaliation.
In other news this evening, while the Attorney General's office is asking for the case to be dismissed, the mayor of Ordet and Salampago is not giving up the fight in a controversial case over a high-rise development in Pago Bay. Our next story comes from Ken Quintanilla.
Of course I'm not giving up.
And while no decision was made today, newly re-elected Orda Chalampago Mayor Jesse Gogui says he can sense the direction the controversial case over a high-rise development in Pago Bay may possibly take. A motion hearing was held Monday in Judge Alberto Lamorena's courtroom to address the AG's motion to dismiss the case.
Having read the Attorney General's motion and without the resources to hire an attorney after the Attorney General's office denial of our request for legal representation, it's kind of a no-brainer in that I can't sit in that court and pretend I'm a lawyer because I'm not. I don't have the background of sitting in there and representing ourselves. So I fully expect that the court will probably deny it. But I mean, all is not lost.
Over the summer, Gogui filed a petition for judicial review on behalf of the Jonya and Orda Chalampago communities against the GLUC's decision on the Pago Bay Marina Resort. Along with questioning why Gogui was alone and without legal representation, the judge also questioned the difference between this case and a similar lawsuit filed by Save Southern Guam and 8 longtime residents. Gogui says the other lawsuit focuses more on an individual impact.
Our petition is a fundamental question with regard to a municipal's influence on decisions made at the executive branch level of Adelaide or their representatives.
And while he told the judge that he believes there's actual merit to the AG's motion, it doesn't mean Gogui's given up.
I'm going to spend the next 4 years working with the legislature so that we have a greater say and we have a greater impact on decisions made by a body of appointed officials that may or may not live in a community that they're directly impacting, and they're having a voice on or over without regard to what the community has stated they want in their particular neighborhoods.
Judge Lamorena says the court will take the matter under advisement. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Ken Quintanilla.
2 assault complaints have been filed with the Guam Police Department stemming from the Tidzin High School riot. The incident, which took place on November 5th, followed a wrestling match between 2 female students from Simon Sanchez High School and Tidzin High School. The father of one of these students, Jose Anonix, said both his daughter and son were attacked at the event. They each filed assault complaints, one against a Tidzin High School athlete and the other against a parent.
Well, even with a new bishop heading to our island, it's not enough to quiet the protests every Sunday down east at the Hagana Cathedral.
Additionally, just today, new documents have been filed in the defamation lawsuit filed against the local Catholic Church and Archbishop Anthony Apron.
On any given Sunday, you'll find them in front of the cathedral.
The message for today is Apron out.
Concerned Catholics and members of the Laity Forward movement have been protesting for several months. And according to Jerry Taitano, they're not going to stop.
We don't want to hear his name, during the masses, during Thanksgiving prayer. God bless Apron, Archbishop of Guam. We just want him out.
But Archbishop Anthony Apron is not out officially despite allegations of sexual molestation and questions as to whether the RMS property in Jonya still belongs to the local archdiocese. Currently, Archbishop Apron, along with the archdiocese, are being sued for defamation and most recently a complaint for